What is up YouTube, and welcome to my first deck profile of Agent Gears. As you know, this deck has a lot of potential and it's an OTK deck. So we want to go second. This deck also has a weakness in terms of consistency, which means that when all the cards are used up, for example through fusion, or because our opponent have destroyed our cards, it is difficult to get a good turn or a good board again. We are also not very good at going first with this deck. But it is still possible if the opponent does not interrupt us or negates us with hand traps, for example, that we get a board with an Appaloosa or Ethereum and Dragon. As we saw at the NAWQC or CQ, I don't know, Agent Gear is not to be underestimated, and especially when certain cards are in hand, for example, the Fortress, Catapults, Forbidden Droplet, Advance, and this deck can also destroy any meta deck in one turn. Soon we will get even more support, as you saw in my videos, for this deck, and that will be the Agent Gear statue. So in this deck I play one OG Agent Gear Golem just in case for the effect of the commander, and two Dark Golems, which allows me to search two cards, which is pretty good. In this deck it's very important to play 3 copies of the Agent Gear, I think Wyvern, Riven, I don't know, I will say Wyvern, which acts as the main searcher for this deck. I also recommend playing the Agent Gear Commander 2 times and also the Tanker twice. For me, 1 Agent Gear frame and 1 Agent Gear box are enough. Now we come to the non-Agent Gear cards, which give the deck more speed and consistency. These include the Therion, which is an Omni-Negate, the Gizmek Tanikuko, which is a very good target for Urge's Rattle, and the Magical Hound. You might know the effects of these cards. Spell cards are very common in this deck. Here it is mandatory to play the Gear Town 3 times, as well the Catapult, the Advance, and Fortress. You have to play all these cards 3 times. So Fortress acts as a protection from hand traps on the gates, which is very important today at the current meta. We also play the fusion of Agent Gear twice, because once seems too less to me, and as support for the deck, the Urgent Scale 3 times. It is very important, especially against meta decks, to play Forbidden Droplet 2 times, and also 1 or 2 talents. So I personally play 1 Lightning Storm and 1 Call of the Grave, and also 1 Feather Wish. So the only trap we play is the Agent Gear Duel, which unfortunately cannot summon the Chaotic Agent Giant. This is probably so that we can also play the old Agent Gear fusion cards, for example the Ultimate Agent Gear Golem. Now for the extra deck, there are a few cards here that you have to play, and otherwise you can choose your special cards that you get along well with. For the fusion cards, I recommend playing the Chaotic one twice, and only the Ultimate and the Howitzer once. I don't play the Megaton Golem. For the link cards, we have to play the Ballista twice, and I personally play Phoenix, for example to destroy annoying spell or trap cards from the opponent, and Underworld Goddess, and I also play an Access Code Speaker. I like to play XYZ cards, for example Bagruska, Dugaris, Heavy Armor Train Iron Wolf, Spring Guns Merrymaker, Gigantic Champion Zargas, and Ingirzu, to protect my monsters or send an opponent card to the graveyard. My side deck is not that important to me, as I almost use the same strategy and I get along well with this deck, going first or going second. However, I have some cards in general that could be swept out regardless of whether I go first or second. This includes, for example, so at first I have a very good OCG card. I love this card on Ultimate Rare of the Giants. So you could play one Marathon Golem, one Appaloosa, one Link Gadget, one Nightmare Unicorn. You could also play these and some spell cards like Book of Eclipse, for example, 2 times. You could also banish a spell trap card from the opponent if you have to, for example, if your opponent controls a skill drain or whatever. One Power Bond, Clockwork Knight, Overlord Fusion, and one Dragon and also skill drain. There are other cards you could also play, for example the Shifter, but I personally think that Agent Gear also plays with the graveyard. And if you use, by going second for example, the Shifter, this could be in the wrong direction for you. So I think overall I'm optimistic about the future and confident that this deck will be a threat to the current meta. Always a threat to the current meta, of course. This deck is not part of the meta at this point and probably won't be in the future, but it is even more fun to play with it and destroy all the hardcore sweats with it. In the next video I will show you some combos or test hands and also duels. Goodbye, like, subscribe, comment.